The galaxy had known peace for centuries, a fragile balance held between its many species, forged through uneasy alliances and interstellar diplomacy. But peace, as history often showed, was a fleeting illusion. The Alvarath, a mysterious and ancient race, had broken that illusion with terrifying efficiency. Emerging from the edge of the galaxy, they swept across star systems like a black tide, leaving ruin in their wake. Their weapons were unmatched, their ships unstoppable. Planets fell in days, entire civilizations extinguished without warning. The call for help went out from the Galactic Council, a desperate plea broadcast on every known frequency, in every known language. It was a message of unity, rallying cry for all species to stand together or perish. But as the weeks dragged on, it became clear that unity was a fragile dream. Many species withdrew to their own territories, fortifying their borders and abandoning their neighbors to fend for themselves. The Council's pleas fell on deaf ears, all except for one. Far from the bustling core worlds, on the edge of known space, there was a species often overlooked in galactic politics: humanity. Young by galactic standards, humans were seen as brash, unpredictable, and prone to chaos. Their homeworld, Earth, was an unremarkable blue-green in the vast expanse of the galaxy. And yet, when the call for aid reached them, humanity did something unexpected. They answered. The first human ships arrived in the Meridian system, a key strategic location under siege by the Alvarath. The Meridians, an amphibious species with shimmering, scaled skin, had been fighting a losing battle for weeks. Their fleet was in shambles, their cities reduced to rubble. When the human ships emerged from hyperspace, the Meridians expected little. What they saw instead was hope. The human fleet was unlike anything the Meridians had ever seen. Sleek, angular ships bristling with weapons, their hulls painted with bold insignias and the universal symbol of the Galactic Council. But it wasn't just the technology that caught their attention. It was the humans themselves. They fought with a tenacity that bordered on madness, diving headlong into battles where the odds were stacked against them. The Alvarath were taken aback. They had grown accustomed to fear and retreat from their enemies. But the humans? They didn't retreat. They didn't hesitate. They pressed forward with an audacity that turned the tide of the battle. Captain Mara Quinn stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her flagship, as the last Alvarath ship in the system exploded in a brilliant flash of light. Around her, her crew erupted in cheers, but Mara's focus was on the Meridian Prime Minister, whose holographic image flickered before her. "Why?" the Meridian asked, his voice trembling. "Why would you come here? Why risk everything for us?" Mara's response was simple. "Because we could." Word of humanity's intervention spread like wildfire. Other beleaguered species, on the brink of annihilation, sent their own pleas to the humans. And humanity, true to their nature, answered every call. From the volcanic world of Zakaris to the icy wastelands of Vorsk, human fleets appeared where they were least expected. Their tactics were unconventional, their strategies unpredictable. They turned asteroids into weapons, used abandoned starports as decoys, and employed methods that left even seasoned galactic tacticians in awe. But it wasn't just their military prowess that won them allies. Humanity brought more than just weapons. They brought food, medicine, engineers, and hope. They rebuilt what the Alvarath destroyed, forging bonds that no amount of diplomacy could replicate. Among the rescued was Kaler, a scholar from the Lurvan species, whose homeworld had been reduced to ash. He chronicled the human efforts, traveling with their fleets and documenting their victories and losses. "They are not the strongest," Kaler wrote in his journal, "nor the most advanced, but they possess something no other species does, an indomitable spirit. Where others see defeat, they see opportunity. Where others hesitate, they act. They are chaos and order intertwined, a force that defies reason and reshapes the galaxy." The war raged on for years. The Alvarath, once thought invincible, began to falter. Their advance slowed, their forces stretched thin by humanity's relentless counterattacks. And then came the final battle. The Alvarath had fortified themselves on the planet Kelsar Prime, their largest stronghold. The Galactic Council, inspired by humanity's example, had managed to rally a coalition of species. For the first time in decades, the galaxy stood united, not in fear, but in defiance. The battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Thousands of ships clashed in orbit, while ground forces stormed the Alvarath's fortresses. Humanity led the charge, their ships at the forefront, their soldiers the first to land. Mara Quinn stood on the surface of Kelsar Prime, her armor scorched and her weapon in hand. Beside her were soldiers from a dozen species, their differences set aside in the face of a common enemy. As the Alvarath's final defenses crumbled, a cheer erupted across the battlefield. The war was over. The galaxy had won. In the aftermath, the Galactic Council convened to honor those who had fought and fallen. Humanity was no longer an afterthought in galactic politics. They were heroes, their names spoken with respect and admiration. Kaler's final entry summed it up best. When the galaxy was at its darkest, it was humanity who lit the way. They are a reminder that even in the face of despair, there is always hope. And sometimes, hope is all you need. As the galaxy began to heal, the scars of war remained etched across countless worlds. Wrecked cities, barren landscapes, and the haunting silence of once thriving planets bore witness to the devastation wrought by the Alvarath. But where the Alvarath had destroyed, humanity, and the allied species they inspired, rebuilt. Captain Mara Quinn found herself at the heart of this rebirth. Despite her role in the victory, she shied away from the accolades lavished upon her. Instead, she dedicated herself to the task of reconstruction. The Resolute became less a warship and more a beacon of hope, ferrying supplies, engineers, and humanitarian aid to the farthest reaches of the galaxy. One such mission brought her to the shattered remains of Euthera, a planet reduced to rubble during the Alvarath's initial invasion. The Euthorians were a subterranean species, their cities carved deep into the planet's crust. But the Alvarath, in their cruelty, had used seismic weapons to collapse the caverns, trapping millions beneath the surface. When the Resolute arrived, the planet was eerily quiet, its surface marred by jagged cracks and smoking craters. The Euthorian distress signal had been weak, almost imperceptible, but it was enough to draw humanity's attention. Mara and her crew began deploying rescue teams immediately, their advanced scanning equipment searching for any signs of life. Captain, Lieutenant Arun Patel called out from the command center, his voice tense. "We've detected life signs, faint, but they're there. Sector 7C, approximately 3 kilometers below the surface." Mara's jaw tightened. "Prepare the drilling equipment, and send down the exosuits. We're going in." The descent into the depths of Euthera was treacherous. The air was thick with dust, and the unstable tunnels groaned ominously under the weight of the collapsed crust. But the humans pressed on, their determination unwavering. They knew that every second counted. After hours of grueling effort, they broke through to a massive cavern. What they found was both heartbreaking and awe-inspiring. Thousands of Euthorians, huddled together in makeshift shelters, their luminous eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. They had survived on dwindling resources, their faith in rescue almost extinguished. Mara stepped forward, her voice steady but kind. "We're here to help. You're not alone anymore." The Euthorian leader, a frail elder named Vorthak, approached her cautiously. His voice was weak, but his words carried weight. "We thought no one would come. We thought the galaxy had forgotten us." Mara knelt to meet his gaze. "Humanity doesn't forget, and we don't leave anyone behind." The rescue operation became a massive undertaking. Humanity's ingenuity and resourcefulness were on full display as they stabilized the cavern, provided medical aid, and coordinated the evacuation. Other species, inspired by humanity's example, soon joined the effort. The Euthorians, once on the brink of extinction, began to rebuild their society with the help of their newfound allies. But as the galaxy worked to heal, whispers of a new threat began to emerge. In the ruins of Alvarath strongholds, strange artifacts were being uncovered, machines of unknown origin, their purposes enigmatic and their technology unlike anything seen before. Scholars and scientists from across the galaxy gathered to study these relics, but the more they learned, the more unsettling the discoveries became. Reports indicated that the Alvarath were not the architects of their war machine. They had been puppets, their actions guided by an unseen hand. The true enemy, it seemed, was still out there, lurking in the shadows. Mara was summoned to a clandestine meeting of the Galactic Council. Representatives from dozens of species filled the chamber, their faces grim. At the center of the room was a holographic projection, a star chart marked with red dots, each representing a site where these artifacts had been found. "The evidence is clear," said Kaler, who had transitioned from chronicler to a key advisor to the council. "The Alvarath were only the beginning. Whoever, or whatever, created these artifacts is still out there, and they are watching us." A murmur of unease rippled through the room. Mara leaned forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Then we need to find them before they find us." The council agreed, and a new initiative was launched. Humanity once again took the lead, assembling an expeditionary force to venture into the unknown regions of the galaxy. They were joined by allies from every species, a testament to the unity forged through their shared struggle. Mara was chosen to lead the expedition. As she stood on the bridge of the Resolute, her crew bustling around her, she felt a familiar mix of anticipation and resolve. The galaxy's future was uncertain, but one thing was clear: humanity would not face it alone. As the ship's engines roared to life and the stars stretched into streaks of light, Mara allowed herself a small smile. The galaxy was vast, and its mysteries endless. But humanity had answered the call once before, and they would do so again. The Resolute hurtled through uncharted space, its sleek hull reflecting the eerie glow of distant, unfamiliar stars. Captain Mara Quinn stood on the bridge, her hands clasped behind her back as she stared out at the view. Around her, the hum of activity was constant. Officers at their stations, the quiet beeps of scanning equipment, and the low murmur of speculation about what lay ahead. Humanity had led the charge into the unknown, but the crew of the Resolute knew this wasn't a victory parade. They were venturing into a realm that no species had dared to chart, a region so distant, so hostile, that even the boldest explorers had avoided it. The red-marked star systems on the Galactic Council's map loomed like an unspoken warning. Something was waiting. Mara's voice cut through the silence. "Status report." Lieutenant Arun Patel, her trusted second-in-command, looked up from his console. "We're approaching the first anomaly site. Scans show heavy electromagnetic interference. We're picking up faint energy signatures, but no life signs. Whatever's down there, it's old." Mara nodded. "Bring us in closer. Deploy the probe drones and keep shields at maximum. I don't want any surprises." The Resolute descended into orbit around the planet, a desolate world with a cracked, molten surface and swirling clouds of toxic gas. The drones launched, their small frames disappearing into the churning atmosphere. On the bridge, the crew watched as data began to stream in. "It's a structure," said Dr. Anika Korin, the expedition's lead scientist, her voice a mix of excitement and apprehension. "Buried beneath the surface. Massive. Definitely not natural." Mara's brow furrowed. "Can we get a visual?" The main screen flickered, and a grainy image resolved into view. The structure was colossal, a labyrinthine network of angular spires and immense domes, partially exposed by geological shifts. Strange markings covered its surface, symbols that seemed to shift and writhe when observed for too long. Dr. Korin leaned forward, her eyes wide. "This isn't Alvarath design. It predates them by centuries. Maybe millennia. This could be..." She trailed off, her voice trembling. "What?" Mara prompted, her tone firm. "Precursor technology," Korin whispered. "A civilization that existed before any of us. The Alvarath may have found it and repurposed it for their war machine." The air on the bridge grew heavy. The term precursor was almost mythical, used to describe an ancient, possibly extinct species rumored to have seeded the galaxy with life and advanced technology. The idea that such a species might have existed and left behind remnants was both thrilling and terrifying. "Prepare an away team," Mara ordered, her voice cutting through the tension. "I want to know what's down there." The descent to the surface was treacherous. The Resolute's shuttle struggled against violent winds and electromagnetic storms that scrambled their instruments. When they finally touched down near the structure, the team disembarked, clad in reinforced exosuits to withstand the planet's harsh conditions. The atmosphere was thick and oppressive, the air alive with crackling energy. As they approached the structure, its scale became even more daunting. The markings covering its surface pulsed faintly, as though responding to their presence. "Everyone stay close," Mara said, her voice calm but commanding. "Corin, Patel, you're with me. Let's find a way inside." The entrance was a towering archway, its edges sharp and angular, as if carved by impossibly precise tools. As they stepped inside, the team's lights illuminated a vast chamber filled with strange, crystalline structures that seemed to hum with latent energy. The walls were adorned with the same shifting symbols, their meaning tantalizingly out of reach. "This place is alive," Corin murmured, running her gloved hand along a smooth, glowing surface. "Not biologically, but it's reacting to us. Our presence is waking it up." A low rumble echoed through the chamber, followed by a sudden burst of light. The team froze as a holographic projection appeared before them. A towering figure with an elongated, humanoid form and piercing, unblinking eyes. It spoke in a language none of them understood, its voice deep and resonant, reverberating through the chamber. "What's it saying?" Patel asked, his grip tightening on his weapon. Corin activated her translator, but the device struggled to make sense of the alien language. "It's fragmented. I can pick out a few words. Warning. Cycle. Awakening." The hologram shifted, its tone growing more urgent. The symbols on the walls began to glow brighter, their light pulsating in rhythm with the figure's words. Mara stepped forward, her voice steady. "We're not here to harm you. We're explorers. We just want to understand." The hologram paused, its gaze locking onto her. For a moment, it seemed to study her, its expression inscrutable. Then, with a flicker, the projection shifted again. Images appeared in the air around them. Vast fleets of ships, worlds consumed by fire, and a shadowy presence that loomed over it all. "It's a warning," Corin said, her voice barely a whisper. "This isn't just a relic. It's a message. Whatever destroyed the precursors, it's still out there." The chamber began to tremble, and the hum of energy grew louder. The team exchanged uneasy glances as the symbols on the walls started to spread, forming intricate patterns that seemed to stretch toward the ceiling. "Captain," Patel said urgently, "I think we've overstayed our welcome." "Agreed," Mara said. "Fall back. Now." As they retreated to the shuttle, the structure behind them began to pulse with light, its energy building to a crescendo. When they finally lifted off, a beam of brilliant energy shot from the structure into the sky, disappearing into the void. On the bridge of the Resolute, Mara stared at the view screen, her mind racing. Whatever signal the structure had sent, it wasn't random. Something, or someone, had been alerted. "Set course for the next anomaly site," she ordered, "and inform the Council. The galaxy needs to know what we're dealing with." As the Resolute slipped back into hyperspace, Mara couldn't shake the feeling that they had just scratched the surface of a much larger, much more dangerous mystery. Humanity had answered the call once before, but this time, the stakes were higher than ever. The Resolute pressed deeper into the unknown, following the trail of ancient artifacts and mysterious signals. Each anomaly site they visited painted a clearer picture of the threat humanity and its allies now faced. These structures were not just relics of a forgotten past. They were part of a vast, interlinked network left behind by the precursors, and the signals they emitted seemed to serve a singular purpose: to awaken something far older and far more dangerous than the Alvarath. Months passed, and tensions aboard the Resolute grew. The crew, once filled with the unyielding resolve of explorers, now operated under the weight of an impending doom. The artifacts hinted at a malevolent force that had consumed the precursors in eons past, a force that had been dormant but was now stirring thanks to their unintentional activation. Finally, the Resolute arrived at the last marked site on their star charts, a rogue planet adrift in the void between galaxies. Its surface was a frozen wasteland, illuminated only by the faint glow of a distant nebula. Yet beneath its icy crust, sensors detected a massive structure, a precursor command hub, its energy readings unlike anything they had encountered before. "Prepare an away team," Mara ordered. If this is the source, we need answers. And if we can stop it, we will. The descent to the planet was fraught with challenges. Blinding snowstorms raged across the surface, and gravitational anomalies wreaked havoc on their instruments. When they reached the structure, it dwarfed every other precursor site they had seen. An enormous pyramid of black, obsidian-like material, its surface etched with symbols that glowed faintly in the storm. As the team ventured inside, the air grew heavy with static, and their comms crackled with interference. The interior was a maze of towering halls and spiraling staircases, each wall covered in shifting patterns that seemed to watch them as they moved. At the heart of the structure, they found it. A massive chamber dominated by a spherical object suspended in a column of light. The sphere pulsed rhythmically, like a heartbeat, its surface swirling with chaotic, liquid-like energy. "This is it," Dr. Corin whispered, her voice filled with awe and dread. "The central node. This is what's been sending the signals." Before anyone could respond, the sphere reacted. The light surrounding it flared, and the chamber filled with a deafening hum. A hologram appeared, a different figure this time, taller and more ominous, its form barely humanoid. Its voice boomed, shaking the walls. "You awaken what you cannot control." The words were clear, translated perfectly by their devices. "The cycle begins anew. You cannot stop it. You will fall as those before you fell." Mara stepped forward, her voice firm. "We're not here to fall. We're here to end this. Whatever you are, whatever this cycle is, we'll fight it." The figure's gaze bore into her, and for a moment, silence reigned. Then it spoke again, softer but no less chilling. "You are defiant, as they were. It will not save you." Suddenly, the sphere unleashed a wave of energy, knocking the team to the ground. Alarms blared in their suits as their shields buckled under the force. Mara scrambled to her feet, her eyes locked on the sphere. "Patel, options," she shouted. Patel's voice crackled through the comms. "We can overload it. If we channel enough energy into the sphere, we might destabilize it. But it'll take everything we've got." "Do it," Mara ordered without hesitation. "Corin, get us a safe distance once it's primed." The team worked quickly, setting up portable power cells and diverting energy from their suits. The sphere reacted violently, its light intensifying and the structure trembling as if it might collapse. The hologram spoke again, its voice fragmented and erratic. "You do not understand. You awaken what lies beyond this galaxy. They will come." Mara ignored it, her focus unyielding. "Almost there. Everyone, fall back now." As the last charge was set, the team sprinted for the exit, the walls cracking and collapsing around them. They barely made it to their shuttle as the sphere detonated, unleashing a blinding wave of energy that tore through the structure and rippled out into space. The rogue planet itself began to break apart, massive chunks of ice and rock cascading into the void. On board the Resolute, the crew watched the destruction unfold on their monitors. For a moment, there was silence, broken only by the faint hum of the ship's systems. Then, Patel spoke. "Energy readings are gone. The sphere's destroyed." A cheer erupted on the bridge, but Mara remained silent, her gaze fixed on the screen. She knew the threat wasn't over. The hologram's words haunted her. They will come. In the following months, the galaxy braced for what was to come. The destruction of the precursor node had sent a final, untraceable signal, one that humanity and its allies feared had reached its intended destination. But the galaxy was no longer fractured and divided. Thanks to humanity's defiance and courage, species that had once been adversaries now stood united. As the Resolute prepared for its next mission, Mara addressed her crew. "We don't know what's coming, but we've faced the impossible before, and we'll do it again. We've shown this galaxy what humanity stands for: resilience, unity, and hope. Whatever comes, we'll face it together." The crew erupted into applause, their determination unshaken. As the ship left orbit, disappearing into hyperspace, one thing was clear. Humanity had changed the galaxy forever. And though the shadows of the unknown loomed, they would face it with the same spirit that had brought them this far. Because humanity, above all else, always answered the call.